This is Jon Schaffer from Iced Earth, and I'm hanging with my boys Chuck and Jason from Podcast and Stone.
Okay, with Days of Purgatory, after recording most of the first and second album, there was a couple songs that were left out. Do you remember why those songs were left out?
Oh, no. You know what the thing with Days of Purgatory was? Which songs, first of all?
It was Mystical End, Curse the Sky, and
Path I Choose.
The Path I Choose. We had talked to Gene about Written on the Walls, that that's why it got changed to Cast in Stone. But the other three, we were always curious about why those three were left off.
Well, the only reason that it got changed to Cast in Stone actually is because I wanted to give Matt the opportunity to get some publishing income for doing it. So he wrote the lyrics for that, and I think between the three of us, we came up with the melodic movements. I'm sure Matt came up with most of them, but I think Jim and I did some massaging there, but whatever. I mean, Matt got the income for it and the publishing income, but it was really, he didn't have a whole lot of interest under the confines of the contract as it was, besides being paid to do the sessions, the royalties and stuff like that. The only way that he would get any income that would be long lasting is to get some songwriting credit. And it's only one song, I think, is all that he redid on there. But that's the only reason, because there was never, we could have done Written on the Walls. I thought we did Curse the Sky. We didn't?
Not on Purgatory, no.
Okay. I don't know why. Honestly, I can't remember why we didn't. And here's the thing with Days of Purgatory. It started with just a few tracks. It started with, was it Winter Nights? And can't remember what the first one, or no, it was
Nightmares, maybe?
Maybe it was the Enter the Realm stuff, because I think actually Brent and Jimmy replayed to My Guitars from Enter the Realm. I think that's what we did. And then it just sort of blossomed into, okay, well, this is sounding pretty cool. Let's do some other songs. And it was probably Century Media telling us to, why don't you guys do some other songs? I don't think they would have been ones that would have picked which songs, but they probably said, let's turn this into something of a larger project. And if I remember right, with the exception of Winter Nights and Matt rewriting the lyrics and melodies for Cast in Stone, I think all of those other songs were just Matt re-singing against the album tracks. I don't think we replayed anything.
Okay.
I think it was just, and even in Brent and Jimmy, I think they only played on the Enter the Realm songs. Maybe Winter Nights too. But dude, it's been too long. I would actually, I haven't listened to that record in fucking maybe 20 years. I mean, I don't care about Days of Purgatory. It was a filler album. It was something. So I would have to actually listen to it, and then I could go, oh yeah, I remember this. Or you look through studio notes, session notes. But
you had mentioned before with re-recording stuff, is it going to be more of like a hit and miss, or what do you think it'll be more entire albums?
It'll be entire albums. Okay.
That's going to make a lot of people very happy.
Yeah, me too. Because I can especially those first three records, the production bothers me still to this day. Like I really don't listen to them, and as much, and only when I have to start relearning a song for rehearsing for a tour, will I actually listen to it. But I know they're classic records, man. I mean, I know that, and they've affected a lot of people's lives. And it's not that I hate the records, but I've just learned so much through the years, and I know what I'm doing in the studio now really well. And it's like, when I hear the records, I'm like, fuck, man, I wish we could have done that differently. I wish we would have known how this works, and you just want to go back and make it sound better and heavier and more attack and all that, and better tones and better performances. I mean, there's shit on those records that's out of time, out of tune, and it drives me crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying everything has to be perfect, because actually we've done that too, and that's a mistake, because then it becomes too sterile and you take the humanity out of it. I don't want to do that, but I want to go back and sort of attack those arrangements just a little bit different, but especially make those records with the tones and with the abilities, man. I mean, of the guys that are in the lineup now, Jake is fucking unbelievable guitar player, man. I mean, he's just unbelievable, world class, and he's so young. And Luke, dude, his bass lines are so creative and so cool. I just love recording him, man. He's a great kid, and he's so young too. I mean, he's so freaking young. He's got the whole world ahead of him and a whole career ahead of him, and he's just loaded with all this talent. And it's like I don't even have to do hardly anything in a production scenario with him, because on Plagues I had to give him some direction, and certainly beforehand, this is what I'm looking for. But it's like a discussion you have once, because he's got this old soul ability to understand, and he's so musical, and his dad raised him on all the right stuff. I mean, he's just it's great. It's going to be great. It's going to take the stuff to another level. I'm certain of that. And then having Brent on the drums on those old records, not like in a Days of Purgatory thing where he's playing to Enter the Realm demos, which are the tempo is like it's going like this through everything. So he's playing drums to guitars that were recorded to drums that were out of time. You know what I mean? It's like you're in this like a perpetual loop of things never going to be the way it would be if we were just doing it now and doing it with the authority and experience that we have. I mean, it's going to be a whole different animal. So it'll be fun from a production standpoint to dig into that stuff, and from the standpoint of being able to tweak some of the things that bother me about arrangements, and it just be little subtleties, nothing drastic. There will be probably a few drastic things in Burnt Offerings, but for the majority, it'll be still pretty pure. It's just going to be executed far better.
From what we heard of Stu doing Dante's Inferno, you re-recorded that. Like, you've actually made me really excited now to hear Stu sing all the old stuff like in the studio.
Oh, he'll do killer on it. I'm certain of that. And I'm that you got to think too. Dante's Inferno might have been the first thing he did with us. So imagine, I mean, you can tell now. Listen to how much he's developed and how far his voice has come and his confidence level and everything. Since that was done. Now imagine all the experience that he has now, and we can take that back and apply it to those first records. And dude, I'm not cutting. The first albums, I loved them. You know what I mean? They're a big part of my life. They bother me from a production standpoint. That's all. I don't wish to erase the history of the band or anything like that. What I need to do is to create future income streams for the band. And by the collapsing model of the record industry and what those contracts are under, there's so little coming in that it's not beneficial for me or them. You know what I mean? It's just not, and for us to forge the future, whoever the songs that Gene co-wrote, or that Dave or Randy or Matt or whoever, they're still going to get publishing income. I mean, you don't need to get somebody's permission to record a song. You just need to make sure that the songwriters get paid a mechanical royalty. We can go and Iced Earth could do the entire Number of the Beast album and not get Steve Harris's permission or Iron Maiden's permission, but then whoever releases it has to pay the guys that wrote the songs. For every copy that's pressed, that's called a mechanical royalty. And they get that regardless of if it sells or not. So that's even on future Iced Earth records that are re-records, the guys that have been in the band in the past that contributed songwriting will get paid for records on a mechanical royalty as a songwriter. And then, Stu and Luke and Jake and Brent will get an actual record royalty. So there's something for us in the future that we can, that can be directly owned by the band, that no label will ever get their grubby mitts on again, unless it's just in the position of a marketing deal or a distribution deal or whatever, but no master ownership. So that's what people have to understand, is it's sort of it's something that needs to happen for us, because after all of this work, there's very little to show for it from those early years, man. Very little.
So it's like basically, it's a case of like, it's the way of earning, like I say, income revenues from that old catalogue as well by re-recording them.
Well, we won't really. It's not going to help the old catalog necessarily. You know, I mean, if anything, what I would like to do is go back into some of those practice tapes and things like that, and also add some bonus tracks of songs that were written during the period that were never produced. They were never, done for a record. And then we've got something that actually is more valuable technically than what the label will have forever. You know what I mean? Because they're going to own this shit forever. They're going to have it, and they're going to be, able to exploit it in whatever way they want. I mean, when they did all those different album covers, I wasn't involved in that. You know what I mean? When they did that whole thing, when they did the box set, the Slave to the Dark box set, I was not involved in that. That was Century Media, and they don't need to get my permission. They want me to be involved because it helps legitimize what they're doing and it helps sell it. If I get behind it, then it's like, okay, to the fans, this is a legitimate thing. But it's not going to stop them from doing it if I don't want to. They're still going to do whatever they're going to do. You know what I mean? Because they have the rights to do that. So,
yeah.
Do you expect more? Do you expect more from Century Media as far as like another greatest hits or another box set?
Of course, they will do that. They're going to do that. I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I've talked to Philip about that I would really want him to do, or them to do, but he's at this moment he's the product manager and would be the one to come to me with those ideas. And I am really behind them doing a proper vinyl of Alive in Athens. So I think that would be killer to do it actually on black vinyl instead of sucky ass picture discs. Because big picture discs are bullshit. They sound like fucking ass. And they're just they're a cool collectible thing, but they have no value from an audio standpoint. So to only have Alive in Athens available on picture discs in that box set, which was a badass package, but
it's very beautiful.
Yeah, from an audiophile standpoint, it's bullshit, and it should be. And that's a record that should be done properly on vinyl. So I know that there was songs. I think somebody told me that there were some songs that were missing. I don't remember offhand from the picture disc set compared to the CD. It's been too many years. I remember in the day, but whatever that is, it would probably take maybe 6 albums instead of 5 to do do it properly. It's not going to be a cheap package because 22 minutes aside is all you get, and that's
Right.
2 minutes. It's a lot of songs. But he's into that idea, and I know whenever the time comes to do that, that's going to be pretty cool. And that's a package. That's something I'll get behind definitely because it hasn't been done. What's always bothered me about this kind of stuff with these reissues is that it feels like soaking the fans, and it's not. I'm not that guy. I don't want to be the guy that's like looking for an angle to get money all the time out of the fans. And that's why they've done a lot of these things where I'm just like, nah, I can't get behind you on that. I know there's nothing I can do to stop you, but
that's the thing. That's the sad thing about cash grabs, I suppose you want to call it. Like it's like the Alive in Athens DVD. You put up your distaste for that and how you didn't feel it really mixed. Like unfortunately, I feel kind of bad because I'm gonna buy it anyway because it's Ice Earth. It's got the Ice Earth name. I'm gonna buy it, But I feel bad because it's not going to. It's not got your blessing, and it's kind of like.
But dude, that's okay. That's fine. I just don't want to. I mean, that whole video thing was only done for the Viva TV show in Germany. That's it. It was not it was not a plan. It was for snippets. I was hosting it was kind of their version of Headbangers Ball where I was doing. Playing Blind Guardian video, Queensryche, or whatever it was, Maiden maybe. In between, they would show clips of us on stage because they sent only 2 or 3 guys with handheld cameras, not even good quality ones. So they had all this footage, and the album was so successful that they just pasted this together, and it's really bad. And you've got what people don't understand about that situation is that on the first night, the fans. They unplugged the truck 3 different times. They did it during Pure Evil. They did it during Storm Rider, and they did it damn, there was another song, I'm sure. I just can't remember which one, but they were going crazy outside. There were a couple thousand people outside who couldn't get in. And Jim's in this mobile recording truck, and they're shaking the fucking vehicle. And he's in there, and the tape machine's sliding around, and the reels are going, and it's like, and he's like, fuck, you know, and there's no security out there. So I think it was probably the second time that they accidentally, I mean, they weren't doing it, they were just crazy, you know. They unplugged the truck, and the power goes, everything stops. So Jim's running inside, get some fucking security out here now. I mean, we're recording a live album. And so whoever he was raging at, the promoter got some guys out there finally to contain the crowd a little bit so that he could get in there and do his job. So we had to end up repeating some of those songs the next day. And I think with the video footage, it's like they have the performance of one night with the video from another night. It's just stupid shit like that. It's such bad cuts anyway, you know, because they had limited cameras. You don't have like 8 cameras on the whole situation. Yeah. So
there's a bit that I always find funny from that DVD is where you got Matt going, this is pure, and the crowd's going evil. He walks away from the mic and then he still says, this is pure evil. I'm like, he's not at the mic. He's not at the mic.
That kind of stuff went down on like at least 3 of those songs. And I when my former management said, look, Century Media wants to put this DVD album or this DVD out, and this was already. I mean, I think I was maybe doing Glorious Burden, or it was out or whatever. And then Glorious Burden was a big record, and so he said, you know, we could take them to court because technically they don't really have the rights to do that, but I don't know if it's a battle that you want to get in the middle of. And I was just like, whatever, dude, I don't even give a fuck. You know what I mean? Because it's what's the point of spending money on a suit where, I mean, it's a DVD, you know. And here's an amazing thing, okay? This will blow you away. It made me so furious back in the day to show the duplicity of these guys. I wanted to film the Horror Show tour in Europe for a proper Iced Earth DVD. Now, granted, this is way before they decided to put Alive in Athens out, which was the period when the band was on SPV. They said they didn't believe in the DVD format. Okay? Now, this was the coolest tour in the history of Iced Earth because we did almost 3 hours, no support bands. We had a stage show that was 3 different sets. So that there was a curtain, and when the curtain opened, the first set focused on songs from the first 3 records, and we had the backdrops were like these big steel plates with rivets and like rust coming down, and we called it the metal stage. So everything looked like it was made of metal. And then after that hour, the curtain would close, and then the next stage was the Egypt stage. So everything was done desert-like, and it had I think the image might have been, I can't remember if it was set from the Something Wicked cover or if it was just like a totally Egyptian vibe. But, you know, we had like torches up and lots of pyro and really cool shit going on. And then on that set, we focused on Dark Saga and Something Wicked. And then the third set was the Horror Show stage. And depending on the size of the rooms would be how elaborate that got, you know. And I had a great production manager on that tour who was able, even when we would go into the smallest venues, it looked like, whoa, you know, because we'd spent the time, we had an A, B, and C rig. So the A rig was for the biggest places, then we had a B and we had a C, and they still made it look really killer, even if it was only a place that could hold 600 or 700 people. It still visually looked stunning. And they didn't believe in the DVD format. And I was so fucking pissed. I mean, it was relatively new, but what else? It was just a lame excuse to be bastards and not spend any money. And in hindsight, we lost one of the coolest chapters of the history of the band on which should have been filmed, because it was the perfect show at that point to showcase the history of the band up until Horror Show, because we did this elaborate thing, you know, where we went out, and it was a risky move because there's no support bands, but the tour was sold out every night. It would have just been a perfect scenario. You know what I mean? So they didn't believe in the format then, but then fast forward years until the Glorious Burden's out and kicking ass, and they decide to put out this very shitty cut of Alive in Athens on DVD. fucking amazing.
Speaking of Alive in Athens, as we're both super fans here and we are super collectors, we couldn't let the Greeks have all the fun, you see. So we had to import this compilation you put together for Metal Hammer magazine in Greece. We had to own it.
That's cool. Well, I didn't actually put the compilation together.
They lied to us.
Yeah, they just used my name. They did send it to me and say, "Is this okay with you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." But that's a marketing thing from the label. It's one of those things. Like, I told Philip, I said, "Man, I don't know if I'm really comfortable with that." And he goes, "Well, do you want to change something?" And I said, the thing is, they always hit me with this shit at like the worst times. I'm consumed with production at this point, or whatever it is that's going on. Maybe in the middle of interviews that I get that particular phone call, dude, whatever, just do it, So but anyway, it's cool. I mean, I have one of those, so I haven't listened to it, but I saw it, so that's cool.
Because me and Chuck was sitting because I got it, because Chuck didn't know about it. I found it on eBay, and I'm like, I've got to have this now. And we're looking through it, we're like, these are really interesting song choices that he chose. Like, you chose, but did you not choose these?
No. What is it? Well, I don't even remember what they are.
It goes from Incorruptible, one song per album, so it goes back in time. So it starts off Ravenwing, Cthulhu, Dystopia, Come What May, Framing Armageddon, Red Baron, Blue Max, Dracula, Times, From Alive in Athens, Watching Over Me, Slave to the Dark, Last December, Storm Rider, Iced Earth. It's not a bad selection.
No, it's not, and that's probably why I was like, yeah, it's fine, because if they would have done something that really rubbed me wrong, but I mean, they wanted to use my name so it would sell the thing more. Because I
bought it, so I had to buy it off the used market.
I'm sorry that you got it on eBay. I don't even know. I wonder how that happened, because they were just supposed to be like exclusives to the magazine in Greece. Is that what did you get it?
I imported it from Greece. Yeah,
I think people buy the magazine and keep it, then sell the CD. Is what they're doing.
I got you. Okay, how much did you pay for that? I'm just curious.
I paid $12 for mine.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, it's
$20 to US, so that's like Jason said, we have to have it.
I don't know, guys. Well, I appreciate that, but it sucks because those are little games that get played, But if you're a guy who has a collection and you want it to be complete, then it's just the stuff that goes on, not in my control.
Yes.
Jason, we're running them late on time. Do you have a couple more minutes for a couple of viewer questions?
Oh yeah, sure.
Wrap up. Okay.
Let's do that. Actually.
And then you guys, whenever you want to do something, it's 30 years is a lot to cover. So I mean, if you want to do another interview in the future, more stuff, because I mean, I know we're like scratching things. We covered a lot, but we can do this again, next year, whatever, 6 months, 8 months, whatever, whenever the time allows. Just stay in touch with me and we'll figure something out. But I know it's a lot to try to cover, man.
We accept.
the fact that you've been on with us for like almost 3 hours means a lot to us, man. So
it sure does.
Appreciate it.
Well, it's cool to get it documented, man. And this is not something I would do with normal journalists. It's if it was going to be something for a documentary or something, that's one thing. But since you guys are fans and you're doing this from your heart, and that's why I do this. That's why I'm still doing Iced Earth. But yes, it's become a business, but without the heart and the soul behind it, it wouldn't be anything. So
well, it means a lot to us, and I'll tell you, you are more than just a band to us. It's a very big part of our life. So that's one of the reasons why we did this. We wanted to keep that word going, and part of it is we don't see enough of this on the internet ourselves. And I was like, this needs to be, Gene Adams needs to be talked to. We need these interviews. So that's part of the reason why we started this, because we wanted to see it ourselves.
Well, I'm glad you did, because that getting Gene and I reconnected was awesome. I mean, you like any of the drama and the pain from the past, it's just gone, and it's it's like, and there wasn't really any on my side, but I know there was on Gene's because, of course, it hurts. But like I told you before, the underneath that, there's still a lot of love there, and it's just like something that it's almost like stepping back in time, and like it's so weird. It's hard to believe that nearly 30 years have passed when we were out together, and just immediately it's like this, and the stories start, and it's just like takes you back there. So it's cool. So I appreciate that.
Okay. So
viewer questions from our Podcast and Stone Facebook group. Andy Lloyd asks, what's your approach to writing and arranging riffs? Do the riffs come naturally, or do you sit and work them out?
They always come naturally. I mean, there's really nothing unnatural, and I'm kind of a riff factory. I mean, I can sit around and come up with riffs for hours and hours and hours, but does that mean they're all going to be good or usable? No. I mean, a lot of them just don't grab me, and I have hundreds of hours of the things, but I just, it's really, again, it comes down to, sometimes the riff will inspire, it change, and that changes depending on what period of the band's history you look at. Like back in the old days, it wasn't nearly as deep in terms of songwriting. It was like, how many parts can we add? I mean, Bill and Gene and I were talking, and it's like, I think Bill said by the time he was out of the band, that we had 27 or 28 original songs. Well, cool. Most of them weren't any good, but we were doing it. You know what I mean? And it was the beginning. Nobody's good in the beginning. Everybody's a garage band. Everybody sucks. Everybody goes through the steps, and you figure it out. It's just the way it is. So back in those days, it was really about just coming up with aggressive riffs, and lots of them, just because you're young and full of piss and vinegar and testosterone and like, But then when you grow up and you start writing songs with depth, and you start thinking about the content because people identify with that, and you realize you're going to be, hitting them in the heart with things, then the depth of the writing changes. And so I would say it was probably around Dark Saga that I really started to, for me personally as a writer, I can't speak for anybody else that was involved, but for me it was really more about trying to come up with the title and the story of the song, even if it wasn't lyrically finished, but that would be the thing that would inspire the riff, so like it's almost always starting with a title or at least a theme, and then the music comes based on that. And that's it. Not saying that's the only way it happens. Sometimes it is just a part, and you go, man, that's a really cool part, and I'll use it for something, or it's a cool intro or whatever. But in general, I like to try to have the target of what the song is, so that the vibe, that the soundscape that's created matches what's happening with the lyrics, because that's a big deal, so that it can happen in all different ways, but that's the way I have been writing for a long time.
Cool. Sean McConnell asks, will there be more Sons of Liberty?
Yes, sure. Especially as now I got my own studio set up and everything, but whenever I feel it, I don't know. But I mean, I feel those things still every day, and there's plenty of inspiration all over the world to get pissed off and write some stuff about. So it's just a question of time, I mean, I don't want to stray off of the Demons and Wizards vision right now. That's my target. Gene and Bill and I have talked about doing something, like just a quick little thing. And just talk right now, but I think since the songs are already written, it could be pretty fucking fun and very fast to do. So we'll see.
Take my money.
Fingers crossed.
What's that?
I said take.
He said, "Take my money."
Adam Ortiz. This question is actually relevant because I didn't record when you actually answered this previously. Adam Ortiz asks, when will we get more official merch in the United States? I really hate the idea of giving money for fake gear. We all especially want Iced Earth sweatpants. See, the demand for sweatpants is there, John. Everybody wants it.
I mean, we sold them on the last tour everywhere on Plagues of Babylon. We had them, and I know we had them in Europe too. So, but we'll do them again. I mean, the thing is, there's going to be a new web store launched, and I guess that's going to be probably later part of November, early December, and we will start feeding items into it. Of course, most of this stuff is going to be incorruptible because that's the album cycle, but we'll put a couple classic designs in there, and I will certainly take the sweatpants under advisement. I wear them every day. I train in them. I mean, I do all kinds of shit. I wear mine all the time. I got the Plagues of Babylon, man. I wear them pretty much every day.
John,
Yeah.
John, to be fair, you're a walking advertisement for Iced Earth, so there's that.
I mean, the thing is, being on tour, like, it's the sweatpants and the hoodies are really comfortable way to live on a bus. So a lot of us travel that way, but it's not that I'm trying to really promote the band all the time. It's just our shit has to be really comfortable.
Just buy my merch. That's what you're saying. That's cool. I've not seen that design before.
You haven't seen this one?
No.
It's got Chamberlain on it, and it's got other generals on there too. But it says Gettysburg, 1863.
I'm wearing a fairly new design.
Yeah, that's the Headbangers Ball one we did
last December. Pun, Iced Earth pun. Sorry, that's when I saw it. That's when I saw you guys last December.
Yep.
On that exact tour. Where was it going? Oh yeah. Richard Clark asks, on the horror show interview, you discussed your distaste for downloading music for free, something we all share. What are your thoughts on today's state of digital music? Examples, legal streaming services such as Spotify.
I mean, it's not going to change. So it's not something that I enjoy. I don't even like the way that it sounds, and I don't use it. I'm not against it because it is part of it's just the way it is. I mean, it's such a big system that we're not going to be able to fight it. It's just that it's a shame that Lars Ulrich was crucified when he was 100% right about where all this is going in digital. On the other side of that, this has caused a system to collapse that has been very brutal and unfair to artists for a long time. That is good for me in the position that I'm in. That's not good necessarily for a baby band, for somebody that's just getting started. And I'm not sure how that's going to shake out. I know there's tough guys out there and people that have strong will and are going to figure out a way to make it still in the current climate. But for Metallica, who's been, they've been in control of their own destiny for quite a while, it's been, even though that is a nightmare when you're going through the transition of a collapse, when you have stayed through it and been able to stay strong through some really difficult shit, and then you're free, that it can be, it's like a gift. Not because the royalties are going to be great on Spotify, because they're not, but just the fact that you're taking all of these middlemen out of the equation now makes the fact that even though you're selling less records, your profit margin just got quite a bit bigger, because there's not a lot of people in there taking a piece of the pie. So the one thing that I can say to people is vinyl. If you want to support a band, and buy physical product. And if you want to hear record music the way it should be heard, listen to it on records. The CDs are cool. I mean, there's things I love about CDs when it comes to the low end, that a good digital recording can handle much more low end than vinyl can. You're looking at like this much of an audio wave, I'm not finding the right word, but on vinyl, where digital, you have the whole thing, which is also can make digital not pleasant to the ears if you're not careful with the way the top end is handled. But you do get a lot more sub lows and lows that are tighter. But there's a kind of a warmth and something cool about listening to records that is, it's just hard to replace it. And it's also a social way of listening to music. What annoys me about digital, besides the fact that it's so easy to steal from bands, is the fact that people don't commit themselves to album listening. They're bouncing around on playlists. It's so easy to skip track to track if you do get a record, even on a CD, Whereas when you throw a vinyl on, it's work to get up and change songs or to flip the sides. It takes a little bit of effort, so it makes it a little harder. So you're more inclined to not only sit around and socially listen to music with your friends and talk about what's happening. A lot of people sit around and listen to music on earbuds, and it's become this very isolated thing where they're not absorbing a record together and passing around the artwork and going, man, look how cool that is. Or talking, did you just hear that fucking scream? That was badass. Or did you hear that solo or whatever? You know, when you got 4 or 5 friends sitting around, you know, partying or whatever and listening to records, you're doing something together. You're not like isolating yourself in your own little world and able to skip through songs so fast that you don't even take in a record. You're not even getting sometimes what the best part of an artist's work or can be that hidden gem on a record somewhere. And a lot of times the people that are listening to music, they don't get that anymore. So there's a lot of things that annoy me about digital, trust me. And the thing is, like, I see my daughter's 12 years old. She asked for a record player for her birthday last year, you know, and I see or this past March, it was this year, but I see that thing happen. Like, my girlfriend's daughter's 13. She did it too. She's really into vinyl and her friends are getting into it. So dude, if you've got preteen and teenage girls getting into listening to records, that's awesome. And that means that something's going on. You know, it's cyclical and something's happening. It doesn't mean, like I said, that it's going to save the record industry the way that it was, but it's cool. And it does give the bands a chance to actually sell something physical, which will put more money in their pockets, which will ensure that the bands you love can stay around longer. Because on the current path, without touring and selling T-shirts, bands are struggling. You know, even the big bands are not selling any. Look how few bands actually have gold records now. Look what it takes to get high chart entries in Billboard. If you sell 7,000 or 10,000 albums in your first week, you've got a fucking number 1 or a number 2 record. Are you kidding me? You used to have to sell 50,000 albums to be able to get a high position in that magazine. That's what has happened. You know, physical sales are in the shitter, and that affects. And under the old business model, that's killing bands. If you're in the new model, with where things are headed, with artists being able to have more control, it can be a good thing, even a collapsing market, because their profits getting big. So, you know,
as a little follow-up, I'm just going to bring up that, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, you can go on iTunes or whatever, or Amazon, and buy digital versions of the albums, like download them, or you pay for them, but you download them. At the end of the day, I still don't feel like I own that album. That's why I'd rather, you know, buy, you know, be it cassette, vinyl, CD. I'd rather have a physical copy of it, you know, because then I feel like, okay, this is mine. I own this, you know, because if I don't use iTunes, but if, like, my Amazon account went down, I don't think I'd be able to. If I had any, like, digital albums on there, I don't know how I would be able to obtain them again. I've lost all that money. Maybe I've spent money on digital. I would lose all that music that I bought. You know, that's why I prefer, you know, physical. It's just it's always there. You know, it's not going anywhere.
It's a very valid point, man, because you don't know what could happen if there's some cyber collapse or whatever. You know, what's going to happen if the databases are wiped out? You're going to lose a lot of money, man. If you don't have all the shit backed up on some other hard drive. I mean, if you're relying on everything to always be in the cloud, I would say that's a pretty risky move, you know, because we don't know where all this is headed. I mean, we don't know what could happen to cause some major fuck up with that. So yeah, I agree.
I'm on that viewpoint. You know, when it comes to digital, you're not buying the album, you're buying a license to listen to it. You know, that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's right. That's all of that's valid, and then you have the audio quality, which is a whole other thing. And if you talk about CD, okay, that's one thing. When you talk about paying for MP3s, you know, we go through all this work to make really good sounding records, and then people make MP3 files, they squash it, listen to it on a shitty $10 set of earbuds, and they don't give a fuck about audio quality. And that drives me crazy. It's like that's a big part of listening to music, man. You know, and so many people, just young people, don't get it, except that there are young people that are starting to, and that's always a really good sign, I think. Especially when you get into the class of preteen and teen girls, that are starting to think that vinyl is really cool. And even if it is a trend, so be it. It's a good trend. I'll take that any day of the week, because that's going to inspire people to enjoy music in a social way again. You know, that's important, man.
Look, I made the shift to vinyl last year, and literally my dad loved the fact that I wanted to, you know, listen to vinyl. He was getting out all his old records, go, look how good it sounds and stuff like this. I'm just like, yeah, it sounds better than CD. Like,
do you remember the last? I'm sorry. Do you remember the last vinyl that you bought, John?
I bought when I was down in Florida. Actually, when I was killing a little bit of time before I met Gene and Bill, because I was with Jim Morris most of that day, and then I met them in the evening. And you know, I went into a place that I used to buy records at. Fuck, man, I mean, back a long time ago. It was in a different building, but the same. It's called Sound Exchange in Tampa, and I bought a Kiss double platinum first pressing, and I paid $26 for it, and it's like fucking mint. And it even has the certificate, you know, like the fake little platinum record that they would put like these little trinkets in their albums. And you'd always be, when I was a little kid, I was so excited, like, what's going to be in here? You know, you'd have the Love Gun or some cheesy poster or whatever. But when you're a little kid, it's like, yeah, that's cool. So they always did that kind of shit. So I bought that, and I bought that King Diamond album, and I bought a couple others. Actually, there's a stack right here. Let me see. Oh, I bought a couple Demon records. The German band. I bought the Unexpected Guest and Night of the.
Yeah, speaking of King Diamond, man, like you should get Abigail. That's my favorite King. That's my favorite King record.
Yeah, it's a good one. I don't have it on vinyl, but I have it.
I have a repressing. I think it's like limited to 1,000 copies or something. That is my favorite 80s metal record. I love that album.
That's cool.
Like,
I wouldn't say
like
not my favorite.
Andy LaRoque's lead work on that is fucking insane.
Yeah, Jake's really into him. I've never been one to be too into lead guitar players, so I mean it's cool.
Guy. You're a river
I can
guy.
appreciate the talent. Yeah, I'm actually a kind of a bass player and
Steve Harris, yeah. One of your heroes. Yeah.
You know, Roger Waters, the list goes on. Geddy Lee, I love a great bass player, man. It's like I'd rather watch that all day than some guy noodling. But I appreciate it. But for lead guitar players, man, you give me David Gilmour any day of the week, that's going to be one of my favorites. But I mean, I love all the dudes that can do it. It's awesome, but it's never been something interesting enough for me to want to do. I've just never been that guy.
Back to Viewer Christians. With a bit of a tangent. Steve Kane asks, many iStir fans are collectors. Other than music, what do you collect, and what is the holy grail that you're looking for?
I have various collections of stuff. I mean, you know, other than music, I mean, I don't think there's really anything. I'm always looking for, not looking, but if I run across there's certain records that I'm looking for, but we're not talking about music, but like military historical stuff, whether it's Civil War relics or World War I, World War II. It's very, very hard to find Revolutionary War stuff, but I do love that kind of thing. I mean, I'll show you something I got right here. For example, this is that's a cannonball.
Wow.
Has a Borman fuse from the American Civil War.
Is it a used cannonball?
Nope. It's still got.
So it didn't kill anyone. That's all right. That's good.
It killed somebody. It would be into 1,000 pieces. It's got a fuse that this was pretty high technology for back in the day. It took a tool and you put it on a certain number. So if you set it for like a 3 or 4 second fuse, once this is fired from the cannon, 3 seconds after it leaves the barrel, it explodes over the battlefield, and it's got steel balls all inside of the steel casing. So the whole thing blows up. It's in shrapnel everywhere. It's very, very bad. You don't want that. But so that's a cool specimen, because this is the real thing, and it's in really great shape, and it's from the Union side. I mean, the Confederate stuff is really very expensive and hard to find, but that's, I'm into that kind of shit. So I don't really have like necessarily a holy grail, but I kind of always look, there's books that I look for, I like antique books, a lot of historical books like that. I have quite a library. So, I mean, there's various things. There's not like any one specific thing. When it comes to records, I'm always looking for original pressings of Kiss, Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, the kind of my staples. I like to try to find first pressings of those. I have some from my youth, and I have some that I bought, but they have to be first pressing and in really killer shape and I don't mind paying extra for it, but
right.
That's what I'm after. I'm not going to buy something that's half-assed.
No, this next viewer question comes from. I'm just gonna give him a shout out because his name's John Baylor. Every time we talk about something, he always brings up the song Life and Death. Okay. The story behind this guy, he had a stroke at 25, and that song basically means a lot to him, as in like pushing forward. And he's basically asking, are you going to bring that back to the set list anytime?
I'm sure that we will. I mean, and I would say that the chances of that happening are going to be when we re-record the first album. That's the bigger chance of that kind of a thing happening. So the schedule is early 2019 to tackle one of the records, and it's going to be one of the first three. I don't know what we're going to start with. I'm thinking probably Storm Rider or Burnt Offerings, but maybe the first one. I don't know that we're going to do them in any
specific order.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. I think we need to talk about it as a band and say, what are we feeling? Let's dig in, So it doesn't matter to me. I just want to do it. So I don't really care too much about what order.
He also asks, which I think is a pretty cool question. He also suggests, should I say, would you be open to having fan input on your label name?
I'm open to it. I was going to call it Independence Hall Records, but or Revolution Records. I have to check, though. There may have been a Revolution Records. There's a good possibility of that. So I haven't really gotten that far into that part of it because it hasn't. When we get into the point where it's time to re-record, then I got to to do any recording, whether it's re-recordings or the next Iced Earth record, whatever, it needs to happen before that. So, but I'm open to it. Maybe that's a question that we can post on Facebook and see who comes up with something cool. But I want it to be something that definitely has to do with independence, with revolution, with fuck you. That's the direction it's got to go, because it's, we're getting away from the old model. The old model's dead, and we're moving forward. Yeah. So
I've got a funny story concerning the label name or whatever. Yeah, because I talk to Bill Owen a lot. Bill, he's lost his bet. He goes to me, I bet you any money, John's gonna call it Platinum Dragon.
No, that's the name of. I mean, I have a couple companies named Platinum Dragon. Yeah. That's going to be the name of the label. That's like that's sort of the name of the company that the mother company of everything. You know what I mean? The Platinum Dragon was my. I used to play D&D when I was a kid, and that was the character that killed. I had like a 19th level magic user, and I kept it alive for a few years, and I got killed by the Platinum Dragon. So when I started my company, it was in respect to Platinum Dragon. And we had a song called that too. I don't know if that was Iced Earth. I don't think it was Purgatory. I think it was a little later, and I have no idea how it went, but I do remember there was a song called that.
Jason, I need to interrupt for a second. My device is about to die, so I'm gonna let you finish up with John. I just want to say, John, thank you very much for your time. This has meant the world to us, and everybody watching is going to really enjoy this. And I just really appreciate you spending time. It's been one of the best nights for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate your support, and you guys, keep it up. And like I said, just stay in touch.
And Jason, wrap it up, buddy.
See you soon, man.
All right.
Steve Kane asks again. He asks another question. Out of Iced Earth and your other project, what is the one song that means the most to you, and why?
Outside of Iced Earth.
What?
So he thought. Is he talking about by some like Maiden?
I think it means out of everything you've done. Ice Earth, Purgatory, Sons of Liberty, Demons and Wizards. Out of everything, basically, I think he's asking.
I don't know. I don't know if I could answer that. There's too many. There's too many that mean different things to me. You know, yeah. From a compositional standpoint, I think Gettysburg is still one of the best from an epic, big giant epic thing. And then there's Watching Over Me, which has a huge, big. It's a big personal deal to me. So there's a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's all personal, man. Raven Wing is a very personal song, and it's the hit on this record for sure. I mean, so there's a lot of them, but that's the one that if you just look at the amount of people that have watched the YouTube video and stuff, it's certainly it's touched a lot of people. So I really can't answer. I can't say there's one.
If you ever play it live, I think that's gonna be a big one live. I think.
We will for sure.
And the Veil's my favorite. Please play that.
That's one of the ones that we're probably not going to do on this run. I mean, we will at some point, but I mean, dude, it's just talking to the guys and looking at the Veil got a lot of comments. And what's the other one? I think we're going to do 7 out of 10. We're not going to do Ghost Dance, even though it's a great song, but it's too long of an instrumental. And I think Defiance is we're going to see. They all have a good response. I think that maybe it's 8 that we're going to do. Whatever. I sent the guys a list, and we're going to run them down, and then obviously we have a lot of songs that we have played together, and then we have all of the Incorruptible stuff and all of these new ones. Well, they're not new; they're old ones that we haven't played. Stu's done some of them, Luke's done some of them, but it's been a long time. Of course, Brent's probably done them all at some point through the years, but it's fresh now. It's been a while, so we will feel out what works live, and then we'll make adjustments as the tour goes on. Because sometimes we get this grand idea that, hey man, this song's going to be great live, and then it just falls flat. You can tell by the vibe of the audience, and we won't judge it based on one show. It usually takes like 3 or 4, and if we're all going, yeah, it's really not getting the reaction that we want, then we pull it. So,
that's basically it, really. I just wanted to show you something quickly that I forgot to bring up. But speaking of set lists, I do have this that I framed. It's actually from the MTV Headbangers Ball from last year.
Yep. Cool, man.
That show was quite emotional because I think you closed with Watching Over Me, and it's when Stu found out one of his friends passed away, and it got really emotional.
Him and Jake it was Adam, Adam Sagan was the drummer in Into Eternity, and he did the thing with Jake, the Witherfall thing, and we got word in, we were in Holland the night before, I can't remember Tilburg. And we got word right after we got off stage that he had passed away from cancer. So they were very, very upset, obviously. So
there was a really I felt it like quite a lot. Like it got to the point where you guys stopped playing and the crowd were just singing the chorus for Watching Over Me, and it was the most epic fucking thing. Yeah. I'm at the front. I'm like, fuck. It was just when that crowd goes, that crowd just lets it just flow and just go, man. It's just
I do remember that show. The London show was great. It's one of the ones on the tour that really stuck out to me, and Paris was very good too. There were several, but there was a few standout shows where that was a good one, man. Good.
Okay. All right. I think that's about it. Let's wrap up. Thank you everybody that watched. It's been supporting the podcast and leading up to basically getting us really kind of talking to Jon. Thank you, Jon, for coming on. It means so much to me. It means so much to Chuck. We're massive fans. Whatever you plan to do in the future, we're probably going to support anyway. So, good luck in your independency and the future of the band and stuff, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the support, and I'm sure we'll be in touch in the future.
Metal lives, my friends.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Take care, man. We'll be in touch.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.